How to start an intro to a podcast. Great question because, well, you got to be able to walk into a room, right? How do you do that? How do you start? How do you get things launched? Very good question. Well, we're going to go over one particular format that I kind of like. It has a lot of advantages to it, and I'll also give you a couple other kind of general formats that you might want to consider. So we'll go over those shortly. By the time we're done with this video, you're going to know the exact steps and elements to include in your introduction, and the two most important elements, the overall feel of your introduction, and what's the best way for you. Well, honestly, both. And we'll go over those next. First, I want to start by giving you an outline to your introduction for your podcast, and this is something that you can use every single time. Now, the reason why I kind of say you can use it every single time is because it is going to change just a touch. I'm a big proponent of what I call presets and templates. And once you understand what presets and templates are, this will make all the sense in the world. Presets would be something like, let's say, an EQ. If you find an EQ that works really great for your voice, and chances are there's an EQ element to your editing software, and it might have some presets in there for different sounds. Without touching a knob or a button or an adjustment or of any kind, just go through and listen to them as they are on one of your recordings. The one that works best, the one that sounds best, that's the one to use. Don't touch it. You've just found a preset that works for your voice. Now, when you have several of them, let's say you've got an EQ preset, and you've got a compression preset, maybe even a reverb preset. Let's say several of those elements, not just for you, but what happens if you're interviewing a guest? You have another channel, another track that has all those same elements pre-designated on that track where you're going to put their voiceover, their side of the interview. Now let's say you've got an intro, some music, and an outro and some music. Well, when you lay all of that together and then you save it as one snapshot, now you've got yourself a template. Every time you do a new episode for your podcast, you call up the template, drop your new audio in, cut the flubs, maybe adjust it for timing, and you're done. You have just saved yourself at least half the amount of time in editing. Congratulations. The presets and templates can become very, very handy. Now this one's going to be, you can set up in a template, but you're going to add certain elements. For example, the very first thing, start your music, and you're going to go into maybe a quote from this particular episode. Pull out one great zinger of a line that sounds really, really good. It has to be really short, 2 to 5 seconds. You don't want it to be very long at all. That will be the very first opening. And tell it, maybe even give it an episode number. You don't have to go that far, but at least the quote, and then you go into your pre-recorded introduction. Of course, that also has your music in it, and what you've just done is, especially with that quote, if that's a quote that really stands out and really sets the tone for the whole episode, you've really captivated your audience at this point, and they should be really leaning in to listen to more. Then when you come out of your intro, it's really common to just greet your listeners. You would be surprised how far a simple thank you for listening goes. It's a very simple gesture, but boy, oh boy, it means a lot to your listener, and be genuine about it. Mention the name of the podcast to make sure that they're listening to the right one. Now, if somebody's brand new and they go, oh, that's not the one I want. Oh, wait a minute. This guy sounds interesting. Well, good. Keep him there. But at least give them the title of the podcast so they do know that they are in the right place. And here's a little something I just heard on a couple podcast intros. Is there some type of interesting statistic? The fastest growing podcast in North America, the #1 podcast on the East Coast, the #1 podcast in the prison sound system in Croatia. I mean, whatever it is there something you can mention about your podcast? If there's a stat that you know, use it, leverage it, and then go into your target audience. A very, very short description. Something as simple as, for business owners, for single moms, for parents who are looking for, something like that. Identify your key audience. And then tell them the big benefit that they're going to get from the overall experience of your podcast. Not just this particular one episode, but what do you talk about? What is the key through line to all of your episodes? For business owners who want to start a podcast, how about that one? For new families who want to start investing. I mean, whatever the case may be, what's their big benefit that they're going to get from listening? And then if there are a couple things that you know right off the bat, there were some key moments that you want to make sure they don't miss, tease those just a little bit. Oh, and be sure to stick around and hear the time when my guest and I kind of get into it a little bit about the Oxford comma. I don't know, maybe that's a big thing for you. But whatever the case may be, if there's a moment or two or three that you can tease to kind of keep people listening throughout the entire thing, that helps as well. Most of all, every single one of these needs to be short, little, tiny, succinct snippets. We don't want our intro to drag out to be a minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes long. That's way too long. You want to get to the meat and potatoes, tease it, set it up, intro it, thank people, get moving, and then get into the meat and potatoes of the episode. Very short, very succinct, hit it hard and hit it quick, but you want to basically get them, what you're talking about in the intro is going to get them to stay all the way to the end. That's the intention. The longer they listen, the better the numbers. Now we talk about all elements of podcasting, not just intros and not just editing, but we also talk about microphones and recording and editing software and stuff like that. If that sounds good to you, stick around, hit subscribe, hit like, do whatever you're going to do to make sure you don't miss the next episode, because chances are, if you're looking at starting a business YouTube channel, a business podcast, or to spruce up your business blog a bit, this is the place for you. Thanks for stopping by. Let's keep going. Now, like I said earlier, there are two ways of doing this, and I would suggest both of them over time. The first one is scripted, literally scripted. When it comes to the very early tease or the 3 elements that you want to talk about that are coming up, literally write them out and read them as best you can to make it sound like you're talking.
You do not want to get your notes together and be sure to deliver it like this.
That's a no-no. If there's any way that you can make it sound as unscripted as possible, that's the delivery we're looking for. You want to be in a conversation. You're having a conversation with the listener. If it's a solo podcast, there are actually 2 people, you and the one listening. If you're on an interview style, there's 3 people, you, your guest, and the person listening. Treat it like that, and you're going to have a very different effect. And that way, you can sound much more natural and much more organic. The other advantage to it is, especially when you're starting out, you will be consistent in your info every single time. In other words, when you talk about the podcast title and who your audience is and what their major benefit is, you'll be able to say that every single time and be the same and be consistent, and that's what generates familiarity with your listeners. And then also, as a scripted part, you can just record that once and add that as part of your template. The opening quote is obviously going to come from this particular recording, and maybe the 3 elements you want to tease, they obviously have to come from this particular recording, but everything else is dropped into place, already ready to go. You put in the extra pieces and you're done. Now, the other version would be, if that was scripted, the other version would be organic. And in an organic situation, you wouldn't necessarily write it out verbatim, but at least give yourself bullet points or reminders or little notes to go off of, just to make sure you cover something and you don't forget and you don't leave something out. You're going to use those bullet points to ground you and make sure that, you mention all 3 of those elements that you're going to tease to make sure they listen all the way through. Or you're going to introduce your guest. Anything like that that's going to be something that changes from episode to episode, make it a bullet point and you'll sound much more natural and speak the way you normally speak, as opposed to reading it off the page. One of the dangers of typing it up as a script is some people tend to sound scripted and reading. We want you to pretty much sound like a conversation. And an organic with bullet points is a much, you're stacking the deck in your favor to be able to pull that off. Now, going organically, notice, if you've got notes, you don't want to have your face buried in your notes while you're talking. You want it to sound organic. You want it to sound natural. Look at the microphone. Put something on the wall. Maybe hang a picture of your ideal listener just as a persona, as an avatar. Whatever it takes to start to have a conversation. The bad thing about that is you can wander into, oh gosh, any number of rabbit holes. And the danger in that is the intro itself can end up being a mini podcast, and we don't want to go there. Keep it short, succinct, tease, and get people to listen to the entire episode. If you give me the whole thing in the first 10 seconds, why am I going to stick around for 30 minutes? So don't wander into a mini podcast just in your introduction. So my recommendation, start with scripted and then move to organic. Start with scripted, write it out, deliver your lines, make sure you're sounding natural, and then once you are sounding natural, after hopefully just a few episodes, you'll feel much more comfortable with it. Go to the organic version. And from there, you can, well, the sky's the limit. Now you're talking, literally just talking, and we get to hear the real you. Speaking of which, I have an offer for you. Look in the description down below and click on the Engaging Your Audience link. It's a free PDF where you called Engaging Your Audience, the 3 secrets to skyrocketing your podcast success. And it talks exactly about your delivery and how to talk with your audience and how to get them engaged in your podcast for longer listening, for growing an audience, and all those good numbers that all podcasts want to see. So click down below and get your free copy, well, in the next minute or two. I'm Nick Natarella with AdWise Creative. Thank you for watching.